The great Roger Stone, Republican political consultant, 30-year political advisor and confidant to Donald Trump. Roger Stone joins us, also the author of The Clintons' War on Women. Roger, I could go on with your credits and resume, but we'd be here all night. Thank you, my friend. How are you?
Great to be here, Steve. Sorry we're...
That's all right. That's all right. We got a whole nother segment coming up. Let me ask you, first of all, reportedly tonight, when he goes to the microphones, Donald Trump will endorse Paul Ryan. Is this a big deal to you or something that he was going to do anyway?
It's an inside the Beltway story. I mean, I'm not really sure why the Republican establishment was so upset. Paul Ryan didn't endorse Donald Trump until Trump was the nominee of the party. Paul Ryan is not yet the nominee for Congress in his district. He has a Republican primary and he's in a competitive race. John McCain in a competitive race, not yet the Republican nominee. Kelly Ayotte in New Hampshire, not yet the Republican nominee. Normally, the presidential candidate does not endorse candidates in a primary. So I'm confident that Trump will support the Republican nominee in all three of those races. But his hesitation in endorsing Paul Ryan aggravated the national chairman Reince Priebus. That's why you saw these flurry of stories that Trump was going to drop out and the party was starting to grapple with the process for replacing him as the nominee. Just to be clear, for anybody who's tuning in late, that is entirely false. Donald Trump has never considered dropping out. He is not dropping out. The only place he's headed for is the White House.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, the intervention, that he's going to drop out.
All hogwash, all disinformation, which in all honesty, I think started at the Republican National Committee, where they're still upset about Trump's hostile takeover of the GOP, but then gets fanned by the Clinton sycophants in the mainstream media to become a conflagration. And of course, if you were about to send a contribution to Donald Trump, or you were about to volunteer for his campaign, no wonder you would take a pause.
Sure.
Based on ABC telling you he's considering dropping out, which he isn't.
All right, we're going to continue, Roger. Next segment, lots to talk about. The polls, also Hillary lying again today about what she said to the people of this country. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching on DirecTV right now, channel 366 is the new channel we're going to be on in another week. You could begin watching channel 366 right now on Direct. So check us out on channel 366, DirecTV. That's where we're going to be going to. More with Roger and your calls coming up next.
Director Comey had said that my answers in my FBI interview were truthful. That's really the bottom line here. And I have said during the interview and in many other occasions over the past months that what I told the FBI, which he said was truthful, is consistent with what I have said publicly. So I may have short-circuited it, and for that I will try to clarify, because I think Chris Wallace and I were probably talking past each other because, of course, he could only talk to what I had told the FBI, and I appreciated that.
All right, that's baloney. We documented that in the previous segment. Rejoining us is Roger Stone, Republican political consultant, 30-year political advisor and confidant to Donald Trump, author of The Clintons' War on Women. Roger, she lied again today, and to the credit, the media, the mainstream media, CNN in particular, has been calling her out for this lie. When does she stop? And there's one more I want to play you from today also, which I think is going to freak you out. But when does she stop with this lie?
Yeah, liar, liar, pantsuit on fire. She lies about everything. She lies about being broke when she left the White House. She lies about being under sniper fire at the Bosnia airport. She lies about stealing the furniture and the silver and the china when she left the White House. She lied about the Whitewater billing records in her law firm. She lied about being her grandparents being immigrants. She lied about being named after Sir Edmund Hillary. She lies when telling the truth would be easier. she's incapable of telling the truth. It's why she's disqualified from being president of the United States.
All right, now here she was at. Listen to this question and this answer today. Here it is.
What is the most meaningful conversation you've had with an African American friend?
Oh my gosh. Well, can I tell you that I am blessed to have a crew of great friends.
She described her African American friends as a crew. Weigh in on that, and then tell me what would happen if Donald Trump did that.
Well, first of all, let's be very clear. The reason an entire generation of young African American men are incarcerated today for nonviolent crimes, including possession of small amounts of drugs, is because of Bill Clinton's 1994 crime bill. Hillary Clinton said of that bill it was necessary because blacks were super predators who must be brought to heel. This is the same Bill Clinton who went to federal court to argue that the Arkansas state troopers should be allowed to engage in racial profiling and when it comes to pulling over motorists. So the Clintons have had their share of dog whistle politics. She's never done anything for black people. The only place she wants to feed black people is in a prison cafeteria. So, and of course, black unemployment during the Clinton years, during the Obama years, has skyrocketed. In fact, as you know, Steve, they take people who are no longer looking for work out of the statistics so they can dress the statistics up and make them look even better. They're a disaster. Donald Trump is a job creator. If he had said something like this today, he would be accused of racism in a New York minute.
All right, let me ask you about the polls. Even Georgia, now 4 points up for Hillary. 15 points nationally in some polls for Hillary, 10 in others. James Carville says, and others, even Pat Caddell, James Carville, have said, wait a minute, these polls appear to be weighted heavily in favor of Democrats. So is that the case, do you believe? And is this race still going to go down to the wire? Or is Donald in some kind of trouble that he needs to work hard to get out of?
Well, we found out that the Reuters poll was rigged. A number of these polls have an oversample of Democrats to create an impression that Trump is losing. Trump had a rough week, but that's because the mainstream media has opened up a Barry Goldwater type assault on him, where it is a relentless attack on Trump. Yet in the same week, we learned that the IRS is investigating the Clinton Foundation. No network carried that news. We learned that Hillary Clinton sold weapons and Apache helicopters, gave weapons and Apache helicopters to ISIS. That got very little coverage. So it is the result of a mainstream media mugging of Donald Trump. And yet, Steve, he remains hot on her heels, I think in pretty close to a dead heat. He's clearly back on the attack and back on offense. So I'm not throwing up my hands over these polls. This race is going to ebb and flow. There's going to be periods where he's ahead. There's going to be periods where she's ahead. And in the end, as Donald Trump has said, I have a genuine fear that they will try to rig the outcome. I read today on the Fox News opinion site, Julie Roginski, the Democratic consultant, who I like very much and have a lot of respect for, but she says voter fraud in this country is virtually non-existent. Really?
Well, that's what the left says all the time.
About that.
That's what the left says all the time.
New York and Kentucky, where they specifically stole from him at the polls.
All right, talk about, when you say you fear that the outcome will be rigged, by who? We heard yesterday Barack Obama, and it's because he said this that you have to worry, because he lies like he breathes also, that, what do you mean rigged? This isn't a nationalized election. I don't have anything to do with it. We don't have anything to do with it. But we know that it's all done by computer. We know computers are hacked routinely. Who do you think might rig it?
Well, let's just take let's take the city of Chicago, for example, where they used the so-called Diebold machine. Diebold, it became so notorious that the company had to change their name to Premier Election Solutions. These machines can be easily rigged for a predetermined outcome. Go on YouTube right now. You can actually see a technician showing you how the machines are rigged. Do you trust Rahm Emanuel and the Chicago Democratic machine for an honest count? I don't. Do you think you get an honest count out of Boston, out of New York, out of Philadelphia? I don't. No, Donald Trump is exactly right. And Hillary Clinton and her husband know that if Donald Trump wins this election, they will be prosecuted. They will probably go to prison. And therefore, they're not above stealing this. Case in point, Steve, they stole the nomination from Bernie Sanders. Why would they not steal the nomination or the election from Donald Trump?
All right, let me ask you, do you think it's a good idea for Donald Trump to bring with him, I saw excerpts from the emails from the DNC where they made fun of a black woman's name, where they, of course, talked about Jews and Bernie Sanders, where they also called a gay person a derogatory term. Same with a Hispanic or a taco, something with taco. Wouldn't it behoove Trump to take these emails, like the one-lines from each of these, around with him and say, hey, here's what the DNC said, and I've yet to hear Trump say, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who resigned immediately, was immediately hired by Hillary Clinton and is now honorary chair of her campaign. And I'm not blaming Donald per se, but I have heard that nowhere. Wouldn't that benefit him if he made that part of his routine?
Yeah, I think it would, because it shows what what hypocrites the Democrats are. You see, in public they're politically correct, but they're using ethnic slurs, on the down low. This is, of course, exactly what Trump has been accused of,
right,
but hasn't actually done. Who's the racist? Who's the bigot? I suspect Hillary Clinton is. After all, remember, Steve, it was it was Bill Clinton who once said to Senator Ted Kennedy, Ted, a few years ago, this boy Obama would be fetching our coffee.
Yeah, he did.
You can find that documented in my book, The Clintons' War on Women, which you can go to rogerstone.com to order this very instant.
I know you also have are offering, besides here on Newsmax, you're offering people an opportunity to speak to you, correct?
Yeah, we started these new forums every other Thursday. They're called Ask Roger Stone. And I'm kind of like the man in the arena. I will answer questions about politics or Trump or style or history. We had the first one last night. It was very successful. I think we have to tweak it a little bit, but yeah, look for Ask Roger Stone. It's a great opportunity for grassroots folks to ask questions and improve the dialogue about American politics.
All right, one more. We got a minute. How does Donald Trump get back on track? What does he do? What does he need to do now, starting tonight? Maybe endorsing Ryan goes towards that direction. Maybe it doesn't. What does he do to narrow those polls starting now?
Well, I think he's already begun. He had a very successful trip to Florida yesterday. He had a very successful trip to Iowa this afternoon. He's back on the attack. He's off of defense. I mean, he did get jammed up in what I like to call the con job. I mean, I'm not sure why this man who believes in Sharia law and insists that Sharia take precedence over man-made laws, such as the Constitution, is waiving the Constitution. He doesn't believe in the Constitution. By the way, Donald Trump's proposal to temporarily ban Muslim immigration is not unconstitutional.
Right.
The president has the absolute authority to do that.
Right.
And because the people who wish to come here are not U.S. citizens,
they have no right.
Constitutional rights anyway.
Right. That's ridiculous. All right.
So the guy who needs to read the Constitution is Mr. Khan. Now,
Roger, I got to go. Great talking to you, my friend. We'll speak to you very soon. Thank you. Roger Stone, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, Larry Klayman, and your calls don't go away.